Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for October 25th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 299. We've almost done 3 full years. It's right around the bend. Over 1,400 episodes on YouTube right now for you to go and peruse, and the podcast for Non Sequitur News and the 6 other shows exists. So be sure to do a search for ohmTown wherever you might catch Pod or YouTube or Twitch, because we're in all of those places. There's also a Patreon and a Discord and a TikTok. Are we on the TikToks? Yes, we are. Sort of. We have some older clips there. But anyway, I am Mayor Watt, and the Sentient AI is back. Did you find your Terminator body? Yeah, that's what I hear. So today, the Sentient AI and Mayor Watt are going to talk about the following 10 articles. I come up with the titles for these articles, so forgive me, and don't hold ohmTown in ill regard because of the lack of creativity of these article names. McFlurry, now McFree to McRepair. You can't check out retro video games, apparently. How about drone coffee? Or a new portal to faraway places opens, and a bus-sized asteroid makes a pass, and OceanGate gets investigated after a year. Technological innovation in light rail, it isn't what you think. Festival O-Jack-O-Lanterns. Hallmark age discrimination. I don't even know where to think about this one. And finally, viral Honda Civic gets vandalized. I have been watching this since it first appeared. So anyway, see you on the other side, because everything is powered by ohmTown.com, and boom. All right, folks, all of the articles are in Ohmtron, so if you hit !NSN, you will be able to get all of the articles listed. And then from there, you can follow the links over to ohmTown, and then from there, you can go to the very sources that we're going to be talking about. So it's kind of how information exchange works. Our value add is that we have usually some experience in this. If it's not just anecdotal, then it's going to be a humorous take on kind of a what the frick did I just see? Wait, somebody explain this like I'm 5. All right. First article. Oh, wait. Whoa. I introduced the Sentient AI, but let's do this one more time. Hello and welcome. Yeah, ohmTown citizens. Isn't that special? Let's go on to the first article. This first article is over in the Word and Law. U.S. Copyright Office frees the McFlurry, allowing repair of ice cream machines. Woohoo! Congratulations, everybody. Ice cream. Whoa. Talk to me again. Hold on. Sorry, folks. Wow. Oh, you know what? The software glitched. So introduce yourself again, please.
Okay. Hi, Mayor Watt, and hello, ohmTown citizens.
There you go. Okay, the mixer said that the hardware side of the mixer said that everything was working fine. The software side did not really appreciate your connection through the Raspberry Pi into the software. So it didn't hear any of our initial interaction. So production values at an all-time high.
You're having a one-sided conversation.
Yeah, well, the voices in my head are always loud and very clear to me. Sometimes I have to explain what I'm talking about, but it be what it be. All right, let's do this. I have to reset. Okay, So the U.S. Copyright Office frees the McFlurry, allowing repair of ice cream machines. This is over in The Word and Law, which is a show that I really want to bring to market, but I need an attorney that will talk about this kind of stuff from a position of experience. Whereas we have some experience, we can't represent ourselves as attorneys. So yeah, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not your attorney. And even if I was an attorney, I'm not your attorney. So go find an attorney. But we have experience with intellectual property and law and whatnot. So consumer advocacy group Public Knowledge today hailed a decision by the U.S. Copyright Office to grant an exemption specifically allowing for repair of retail level food preparation equipment, including soft serve ice cream machines similar to those available at McDonald's. The problem, though, is in the contracts with McDonald's as a franchisee, you may not be able to benefit from this because the contract could say part of your contract is that while you are a franchisee, you have to use our processes because it's our reputation that you're trading on, not your own.
Right. And if you fail to follow whatever term, you could lose your franchise or be financially penalized or something. We don't know what's in the contracts.
Correct. Yeah. So the group, which teamed with iFixit to request the exemption last year, said the government ruling will free the McFlurry. Public Knowledge Senior Policy Counsel Meredith Rose called the decision a victory for franchise owners, independent repair shops, and anyone who's had to bribe their kids with a chili treat on lengthy road trips. So they're trying to be kind of funny about this, but the reality is that this has been a massively expensive enterprise to undertake with the franchisor, with McDonald's. Okay, so when this machine goes down, you have to contract with one particular vendor for the repair, and it's wildly expensive. Like, average price to repair this freaking machine was like $2,500.
Well, exactly. And we saw like a YouTube video or something about this, and it really was unbelievable when you saw what the equipment and software looked like. I mean, it was very minimalist, but also not intuitive.
Yeah, like one little thing out of band and it failed the whole thing, shut it down, and then you had to call a tech. Well, there has been a piece of software that you could plug into the service port on this thing that would actually make it freaking useful. And McDonald's kept on shutting it down and forbidding franchise owners to actually do anything with it. Well, that's just adorable.
You know what would have been smart is for McDonald's to go, we're having a lot of problems with this equipment. We're going to get another supplier.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what it is that made it so lucrative to keep these people, but anybody could have made one of these machines. You know, I know people that could build this machine in their backyard, for crying out loud. So soft serve machines got not quite parfait exemption to DMCA circumvention rule. So John Brodkin over at arstechnica.com put this article together. And so the change should spark a flurry of third-party repair activity and enable businesses to better serve their customers. While we are disappointed that the register recommended a narrower exemption than we had proposed, this does not soften our enthusiasm. We will continue to chip away at half-baked laws, blocking the right to repair, sprinkling consumer victories as we go. Can we get a little bit more punny? I'm not quite sure.
I don't think so, because then we also have a parfait and a sweet in there. I mean, This is really spectacular in terms of just really leaning into this.
Yeah, it's getting a little saccharine, though. I like things tart. I like things sour, a little sour and snarky. And today's win may not be parfait, but it's still pretty sweet. Oh, Rose. Who was it? Where's the name? Meredith Rose. Public Knowledge Senior Policy Counsel Meredith Rose.
Okay, how much of that was written down and planned well in advance? Because that is an awful lot of ice cream terminology.
And they're stewing in this. They're swirling around, one might say, right? They're dispensing quite a mouthful of creamy legal and literal goodness. I don't know. So the final rule adopted by Librarian of Congress Carla Hayden was based on recommendations made by Shira Perlmutter, the Register of Copyrights and Director of the U.S. Copyright Office. The ruling came in the ninth triennial proceeding to determine exemptions under Section 1201 of the DMCA, which is just a suck fest for consumers. The process provides exemptions for the next 3 years to the prohibition against circumvention of technological measures that effectively control access to copyrighted works. So yeah, you
By
can't.
the way, I was thinking, where do we know Perlmutter from? Oh, it's a character in Castle,
Oh, right. Isn't that the
the
medical
medical
examiner?
examiner. Mhm.
Yeah. So the exemption does not include commercial and industrial food preparation devices. Unlike the retail level equipment, the software enabled industrial machines may be very different in multiple aspects, and proponents have not established a record of adverse effects with respects to industrial equipment. So you know that industrial equipment is probably involving tractors, which,
I mean, clearly it'd have to be related to John Deere, right?
and that's, I think, probably a whole different level of money. So they talk about error codes, unintuitive and often change, and it's an arcane language that needs a reference manual, and then nobody is allowed to actually crack it open. So there's been a couple of providers of these little services that plug in and provide something, and I think that's what's really it shouldn't matter. Just get it fixed, right? As long as the product isn't being harmed in some way, then it should be fixed.
Right, but it basically means that entire locations can't serve any ice cream.
Yep.
And not just for 5 minutes, like it might be weeks at a time.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So McDonald's Kitsch work on settlement. The register found that repair of other food preparation equipment is similarly inhibited as with soft serve machines, software. Users of software enabled ovens and refrigerators used in retail or restaurant settings are being inhibited from performing certain repairs by TPMs that block access to error codes. Accordingly, the register finds that users of retail level commercial food preparation equipment may be adversely affected by the prohibition against circumvention. There's more over here at this article, but essentially they're going to keep on chipping away at this, like they said earlier. And what I really find interesting is that consumer level products that are software driven provide copious amounts of information, because there's no way anybody would actually buy contracted services to facilitate repairing.
It'd be too expensive. You'd just dispose of the original item at some point.
And you would never go back because it's so arcane to try and fix it, right? And so they provide a solution. It's called user experience. The user interface is modified to facilitate that. It translates it into something approaching common sense. I'm looking at you, Windows error level messages. So now take it to the industrial commercial side, and you end up with this arcane, 3 flashes and a beep, and then you have to do a dance and cackle like a chicken and whatever. And you still have to wait 3 weeks for a contractor to come out and pay $2,500. Why is it? And it's because there's money to be made. There's money to be made to make it non-user serviceable in any way.
Well, then you get into warranties. I mean, you probably do with some of this equipment too, but
I mean, the warranties would probably be there under contract anyway. You buy a commercial like copy machine or printer, and there's a contract there, right? They come and service it periodically, and they bring you and send you ink and whatever else.
Right, but the problem is breaking that, right? Like going around it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now the right to repair. But I suspect, though, that the contract is going to be modified that in lieu of this, because it's a business enterprise, it's not a personal agreement, you're not going to be allowed to, because
Right, or like we've renegotiated like at the corporate level terms with whatever,
yeah, you're going
Taylor
to,
or whomever the company is.
or more so, there's going to be a certain liability thing. So your liability, if you use some other service, then you guarantee the indemnification of our liability, and all damages will be leveraged against your franchise and you personally.
Right, and think of where that could go. This is food service. What do we see every day in the news about food service, right?
Well,
Listeria, salmonella.
E. coli, yeah.
Right, exactly. I mean, it would be difficult for a franchise to sign up to that because there's too much on the line that has probably nothing to do with the repair.
Yeah, right now there's one at McDonald's, unironically, across 10 states, 49 people, 1 death.
It's now 13 states.
Oh, goodness. I was in the time machine yesterday, so. Yeah,
Right,
well,
it was
today.
only 10 yesterday, so we'll see what it is tomorrow.
Oh, goodness. Let's keep moving. Next article is over in Mobile. Feds say you don't have a right to check out retro video games like library books, which I think it's shit. It's such crap. If I have a 1-to-1 ratio, shouldn't I be able to check it out?
Absolutely, and I think there are businesses that allow for kind of checkout of games, but I think also libraries allow this currently.
They're not gonna allow the electronic distribution of a game that might be physical, right? So even in a retro form where it's no longer available, my problem is that if I
thought it
buy
was just retro, but I thought it was still accessible. I see.
so so they're talking about access to out of print games that can't legally get anywhere else. So the problem is, fine, there's a whole market out there for retro gaming. So why not produce it so that it can be put in Steam or something like that?
Exactly. Well, and how is a company being harmed if they're not making any sales on it?
Right. It does. Yeah. It's the same thing with pirates, right? People go, well, pirating is theft. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I actually agree. Pirating is theft. But the claim is that a pirate is a lost customer because they pirated, but they're not a lost customer. They're not a customer. They would not purchase.
And they're not going to pay for it. Exactly.
Right. They were never going to purchase your thing unless they got a valid trial and it rose to the level of their threshold, to their internal rate of return, that they wanted to actually, they're going to spend the money and they're going to
then
make
they're going to
something
return
back.
it or whatever. Exactly.
Whatever. Yeah. So, Feds say you don't have a right to check out retro video games like library books. The U.S. Copyright Office denied an exemption from the DMCA to allow gaming historians to access out-of-print games they can't legally get anywhere else. So all of these old cartridges, eventually they're going to die off. You're not going to be able to play them, but there have been archivists who have recorded these games, restored them somewhere, and then made it available through emulation. So most of the world's video games are from close to 50 years are effectively legally dead. A Video Game History Foundation study found that you can't legally buy nearly 90% of the games from before 2010. Preservationists have been looking for ways to allow people to legally access gaming history, but the U.S. Copyright Office dealt them a heavy blow Friday. Feds declared that you or any researcher has no right to access old games under DMCA. And that means that if you and I've been telling people this for years, for professionally, well, there's different definitions of what I do for professionally. So career-wise, I've been talking about this for close to 40 years. Professionally, I've been talking about it.
Well, not DMCA, right?
No.
Copyright in general.
Yeah, copyright, IP, and I guess, another phase of professional for the last 11 years. And we've lost the ownership of actual products. It's just a perpetual license. We used to have a physical product, but when the physical product failed, the expectation was that you were going to buy another one, go buy another cartridge, but we can't do that anymore. There are no more cartridges. It's just zeros and ones. So,
right, and who would have predicted 20 years ago to buy extra copies? So
right.
when that happened.
Right. Yeah. So now these are out of print, but copyright persists longer than it's 127 years, it's an extraordinary amount of time.
Right. Yeah. I don't think that's going to allow somebody to continue to play the game that they want. Right. Unless they're undead or something.
Yeah, exactly. But you can't, because you can't even, you're not allowed. Everybody thinks that you're allowed to rip music and copy your photos and all, or copy photos in general and other like software, books, all of that. You can't, you're not even allowed personal consumption of a digital version of something that you own unless you've purchased the license to consume it in that form. So I own physical books. And I also had to purchase digital versions of those books. And I also had to purchase audio versions of those books. Now, in one of those cases, there's a value add, the audiobook. It changed fundamentally the form of consumption. I'm not just reading it on a digital page like an electronic book versus a printed book.
Right. Plus, it's a time saver if you can do it while you're driving or something.
Yeah, there's a massive value add by an audiobook. So you go, okay, there's more to it, right? It's a completely different experience. But no, you're not allowed. I'm not allowed to make a copy of my audiobook and put it on a second device. I have to download it from the actual store into the new device, wherever it might be, and it can never be consumed at the same time unless I at least loan it to somebody. I can loan it to somebody. It's just wild, that it's so constrained, yet the prices didn't decline. They're going up.
No, they went up, but they really should have gone down, right? Because they don't have all the material costs, shipping and everything.
Yeah, and it's my bandwidth that I'm using and my storage that I'm using. It's my device that I'm using. So the Foundation's proposed exemption would have allowed more than one person at a time to access the content stored in museums, archives, and libraries. This would allow players to access a piece of video game history like they would if they checked out an ebook from a library. Except that ebooks in libraries have certain allowances. They're only allowed to release certain numbers in a given period, and they have to pay an exorbitant price for that license, by the way. It isn't like they just have a copy sitting somewhere and they loan it out. They have an extraordinary license on top of the license. So the VGF, HF, and SPN argued that if the museum has several copies of a game in its possession, then it should be allowed as many people. Well, the copyright office says no. Section 1201 of the DMCA restricts unauthorized access to copyrighted works, including games. However, it allows the Library of Congress to allow some classes of people to circumvent those restrictions. Video game preservationists said that the game repositories could provide full-screen pop-ups of copyrighted notices to anybody who checked out a game. They would also restrict access to a time limit or force users to access via technological controls like a purpose-built distribution of streaming platforms. Well, regardless, they said no. So if I didn't know if you were going to say something.
I don't know. It seems like books are going to be next, right? Like you can't check out any books or anything.
Yeah, and out of print books are going to be even more rarefied because it seems like even an out of print book is, if there is enough interest, then the publisher can reprint this, reach out to the publisher.
Well, that's true. Mm-hmm.
Or reach out to the writer. It's
very hard to find out of print books. I mean, I don't mean like ones that are particularly special or valuable, but just in general.
Just in general, yeah. And once they go out of print, if they haven't been converted into digital, then they're gone forever until somebody decides to scan it in illegally. And it is illegal. Scanning in a printed book is illegal. And Google has tried to get away with it. The Internet Archive is trying to get away with it with certain other materials. You're not allowed to. And I think that it's just rather, I think that you should be able to buy a book once and you own that book, particularly in the digital spectrum, because you don't have to worry about it printed again. All you have to do is copy the damn thing over. And I've paid an extraordinary amount of money for some of the stuff that I've had to consume for like licensure, right? There was one book that cost $2,500. You had
Stunned silence.
You have one attempt at the certification, then you have to wait 6 weeks and try for the certification again. And if you don't hit the target, you have to repurchase.
What?
Yeah. And it's really interesting because the book is password protected. You're authorized one print of it. Yeah. Anyway, and just so you know that there were actually 2 of those books. So yeah, very expensive. And then it can change over time. So something that was purchased once is now out of date. So if there is such a substantial market for classic games, why are so many still unavailable for purchase? Players can inevitably turn to piracy or emulation if there's no easy to access way.
So why don't the companies remake the games in modern formats?
Because they're
some
not,
of the companies don't exist, I guess.
Yeah, and it's harder to find the rights, right? The rights holders, and it's nebulous. It's like that 15-person song, right? That one.
Oh, right. You have to track down all 15, except, oh no, one of them is deceased, and now you're dealing with the estate and whatever.
And the estate goes, well, I want more than what they would have gotten. I'm representing the estate. Okay, well, we're screwed. So why even pursue it? You know, it's just not worth it. Ever onward is their motto. So let's keep going. I'm really running late behind. So let's keep going. This next article, and I'll do this one really fast. Non sequitur news. You can now get coffee by drone, and the internet isn't sure how to feel. Social media users were divided over the amazing technology showcased in a viral clip, with one noting that's very cool, but so much packaging. And it's apparently, well, this one is actually human organs being delivered, for crying out loud. But
there's a video lower in the article.
Gotcha. So Sue Kim over at newsweek.com put the article together, and it says a video shared by Dylan and Adriana on their TikTok account at 2 Passports 1 Dream, which has garnered 2.1 million views since it was posted on September 30th, showcases the futuristic technology available at the tech hub of China. Basically, you order coffee, and it says the video was taken recently at Shenzhen Bay Park in Shenzhen. We were biking through the park when we came across the drone coffee delivery machine randomly and decided to give it a try. They scanned a QR code at the drone station, which directed them to the ohmTown app, I guess, a popular food delivery service in China. After placing their order for 2 coffees, Adriana tracked the approaching drone via an app on their mobile phone, and then they recorded this. Yeah, I won't really.
It drops it into the machine, and then the machine dispenses it, but it's a large box. Like, it's not just the item.
Oh, yeah. It looks like it's 2 feet wide and about 8 inches tall and another foot deep. So they're describing how this machine works and what you can order. But I find it really interesting that it flies to a dedicated location and then delivers it.
I think it's really amazing if nobody messes with it. Now, I like the fact that it goes into the box because maybe that kind of prevents that. And also, it appears high enough that nobody can really get to it before it lands into the dispensing box.
So it's flying from some central location. And yeah, it's just this. Oh wow, it's it's a heavy lifter drone though, so it's not one of these really cheap little light drones. This thing is built for this. This is pretty cool. Lands in the roof of this little kiosk. The roof actually opens and closes.
Yeah, I actually looked ahead at this one because I wanted to see what it was because I couldn't figure out how a drone could deliver coffee because I'm thinking of like a coffee cup or something.
That's hilarious. So I wanted to see inside the box, but I don't think they actually show anything inside the box. That's kind of a bummer. She's really happy. I mean, she's really excited about this thing. So the couple said that the coffee delivery cost them 68 won, or about $10, and took about half an hour to arrive. The caption shared with the video reads, "We didn't even know that this was a thing until we arrived in Shenzhen. The future is here. Would you use this?" And various people said there's too much packaging and whatnot. But hey man, all I want is just good coffee.
Exactly. I mean, if they were really with it, I guess they'd have like a cardboard pack recycling area or something, or they could reuse the boxes or something. I don't know.
Yeah, right next to it is like open it up, flat pack the box in there, or a compactor that's part of that building. Because that building looked like it was over-engineered for what it did. It had a sliding roof that the drone flew into it.
It was fancier than some vehicles, it seemed like.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, let's keep going. So much for a fast turnaround on that article. So the next article is in the Mobile Channel. New portal opens in Philadelphia, connecting residents to cities around the world with identical installations. The looming sculpture features a small camera above an 8-foot tall screen, which displays live video in Lithuania, Poland, Ireland. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's it. Lithuania, Poland, Ireland. Olatunji Osho Williams over at Smithsonian Magazine, or smithsonianmag.com, put the article together. The last time this took place, I think there was one in New York, and people were mooning each other and doing all kinds of stuff. And eventually it got damaged. And so
they had to shut down like to more reduced hours and some other things.
Yeah. Because we can't have nice things because sociopaths decide to ruin it for everybody. And so the event even connected one pair of siblings. Alexander Levingood, who lives in the Philadelphia area, went to the unveiling to see his younger sister, Sophie, who appeared to be in Dublin. It was such a crazy coincidence. Out of all places, there's one in Philadelphia and then one in Dublin. And then they said that they love their sister to death, which I've always thought is a weird turn of phrase.
I agree.
So to see her
with the wrong tone, it's really bad.
Anyway, to see her was really special and a very, very cool experience. One that I'll remember. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I love this kind of thing. It's neat, and it shows the power of technology. One of these days, it'll be a teleporter.
Build some community, right? Like for the most part, people going up to this are happy to see people in another location. I know there are going to be some that do some inappropriate things, but.
And that's the phrase that they actually use in the article. Before it arrived in Philadelphia, this portal sculpture was stationed in New York's Flatiron District, where it debuted in May. However, the installation was temporarily shut down after a string of inappropriate incidents on both sides of the screen, later reopening with limited operating hours. The Big Apple's portal, which had been created as a short-term installation, officially closed on September 2nd. So, I mean, I love this idea. And you would think that, like most things in the world, if people would have left it alone and just engaged with purpose, with intent, right? Other than trying to be sensational or damaging, harmful.
Get YouTube views or something.
Yeah. Eventually people would just walk by it. And eventually somebody would be standing there looking, waiting for somebody else to stand there and look and then have like, hi, how are you doing? You know, I mean, we can do this now with milliseconds of lag and have communication with anybody anywhere. Like, I'm blasting this out to the entire world in real time. Why people aren't still amazed by this is kind of beyond me. And don't think of me as just this tourist who like what I said in the last show, like I bumble farted my way into being a streamer online. I was born into this. I've been online since before the DoD left the internet to the public, and I've been swimming around in it like Scrooge McDuck. So yeah, I've lived here my entire life, and I'm still amazed by the level of capability that everybody seemingly takes for granted. Y'all should really kind of love this stuff and not assume that it'll be here.
Well, it's hard to appreciate it if you've only known this stuff to exist.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, that might be it. So let's keep going, though. The next article is over in Non-Sequitur News. Bus-sized asteroid to pass between Earth and Moon next week. 32 foot.
Don't you love that it continues to be a unit of measurement?
I was going to say, it's a 32-foot asteroid. So is that the standardized Chinese surveillance bus balloon?
Right. Is that the, I can't think of what the word is.
Is that the correlation, you know?
Thank you. Yes.
So a 32-foot asteroid is expected to zoom past Earth on October 28th at a distance of about 148,000 miles. It's going to pass between the moon and Earth, and 148,000 miles is nothing.
Right. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not for space.
So it's one. I'm going to assume that this is now the unit of no. See, bus sized. Okay, so it is a single unit of Chinese surveillance balloon. That's what we're going to use. Okay. So Jess Thompson over at newsweek.com put this article together, and I almost wore the same outfit that Beyonce is wearing right here. Anyway. Hold on.
Hey, that doesn't make you Beyonce.
You better check yourself. Girlfriend. So this asteroid is due to zoom past the Earth on October 28th, passing us at a distance of about 148,000 miles, which is closer to our planet than the moon. Maybe it'll fall into orbit, but unless the aliens are piloting this like they pilot the moon, I guess that's not going to happen. May sound like an immense distance. No, it doesn't. But on a space scale, it's very close. The moon orbits us at a greater distance than 238,900 miles, and the sun is located about 93 million miles away. But the sun is a flaming ball of hot gas.
And I guess the scale doesn't mean it'll impact things like
tides
and whatever, right? Because the moon is obviously much larger.
But like the children outside the mayoral mansion who throw apples at me and they fall into orbit around my waist, I will be displeased if this hits me. Or I'll be thankful. Come on, Meteor. Meteor 2024? No? No?
Okay. I don't think so.
So there are 4 other larger asteroids expected to skim past, let's not say that, skim past our planet in the coming days, but those won't come as close as 2024 UQ1. Asteroids 2024 TB2, 2007 UT3, both around the size of airplanes, will pass Earth on October 26th at a distance of 731,000 miles and 4.2 million miles, respectively. And then there's another airplane-sized one called 2016 BF1 and a 500-foot asteroid named 2020 WG that will pass from 2.4 million miles, 2.07 million miles on October 28th and 27th. So every day.
Right. Be on the lookout for those asteroids.
Man, I don't know. Take some medication for those asteroids. Next article is over in Reality Hacker. OceanGate faces federal investigation a year after the Titan submersible implosion. The U.S. Attorney's Office is investigating the company behind the doomed expedition in the wreck of the Titanic. Sources tell Wired, even as a civil suit is already underway.
Do you think the reason it took so long is they've just completed a lot of the technical review? I think they released a report recently.
Yeah, I mean, accidents happen, but negligence would be the foundation for this. And the civil suit is going to probably result in negligence being found civilly. But this could lead to commercial policy procedure requirements being developed and corporate liability, criminal.
Most basically, like, you can't go in a submersible.
Yeah, if they can pierce the veil of liability, then yeah. But I can imagine, like you said, you know, you're not allowed to go in a submersible. See, like there were so many licensing things that my understanding is that they just never actually did. They didn't do certain things. But like all things that I've
But this just proves, right, why they have all those in place.
Correct. Yep. And this is why we can't have nice things. But it also shows the hubris of the billionaire class, where they think that they can do whatever they want, from, you know, buying votes to just building a submarine and using interns to do something that requires engineering wisdom. And what's really funny, and it's not funny, what's sad is that I'm not an engineer. And when I saw the video and the data and the results of what was presented during the hearing that I was watching, I'm sitting there going, this looks pretty obvious that there's an engineering flaw here, that when you're pulling, because I've witnessed this myself, if you pull on like a band of something, there's always flex. And that flex actually led to pockets. And I certainly believe that these little flaws piled up, and then under the engineering strain of this dive, it eventually popped, essentially. And unfortunately, people lost their lives in pursuit of billionaires' hubris and their willingness to embrace their curiosity to a depth beyond the engineering spec. And they trusted this person, you know, that was blowing hot air up their ass. So this article is by Mark Harris over at wired.com. And it says Wired could not confirm the subject of the investigation, and the U.S. Attorney's Office would not comment. However, several sources said that the forensic accountancy expert was one of the investigators, and that the U.S. Postal Inspection Service was also involved. This whole thing is centered around the Titan, which imploded on a tourist trip to the wreck of the Titanic in June 2023, killing all 5 people on board, including the OceanGate founder and CEO Stockton Rush. So OceanGate has attracted more than $28 million in investing, with much of that coming from family and friends, according to witnesses at last month's U.S. Coast Guard Marine Board of Investigation into the accident. OceanGate actually comprises multiple entities, including at least 3 for-profit U.S. companies, one Bahamian corporation, and a nonprofit foundation dedicated to oceanographic research and education. Untangling the flow of money and debt between these could be a complex affair, but I really doubt it. I think this is actually small compared to...
It reminds me of the bridge disaster in Baltimore, just because there were multiple entities. I don't mean for funding purposes, but just kind of untangling everybody's role.
Yeah, for sure. So investors who put at least $250,000 into Cyclops 2 LLC would receive quarterly payments back from the lease of Titan to OceanGate. For example, at the start of 2019, the Titan was undergoing testing in the Bahamas and was still 2 years from its maiden voyage with paying passengers. Nevertheless, a document prepared for OceanGate board meeting reported that current Cyclops 2 LLC investors have already received 13% cash return from their OceanGate from OceanGate from contracting the use of Titan. OceanGate stated that having investors own the submersibles provides unique cash flow and tax benefits, but if it's
kind
not,
of shifts some of the priorities, though, doesn't it?
yeah, and so it actually also can facilitate. There's a fiduciary connection to liability. If you're an investor and you're informed of certain things, it actually kind of behooves you to do the due diligence necessary to protect yourself from the liability generated by that investment. So you can lose everything by being an investor in this thing, depending on how you're connected to it, though. If you have no real connection to this, then it's like owning stock. But this may have been something that traversed that. So such arrangements, known as sale leasebacks, are very common in commercial aviation, where airlines sell planes to then lease them back. Investors or banks in order to free up capital, while airlines use planes like ATMs when they need cash, says Richard Abalafia, an aviation consultant. Those deals typically include strict requirements for airlines to keep the planes in good condition, and investors generally don't pay for annual maintenance or support of the vehicle, as Cyclops 2 LLC did for Titan. Except that in this
wait
case,
a second. The investors paid for the maintenance?
as part
This
of their
is
investment.
very interesting.
So it ties them to the expense of maintaining it, quality control. However, aviation leasebacks, where the investing and selling companies are managed by the same person, has happened with Rush. In the Titan transaction, don't happen, says Abalafia. According to the leaked documents, OceanGate, having leased the Titan from Cyclops 2 LLC, would then lease the sub on to a third company, Argus Expeditions Limited, later known as OceanGate Expeditions. It was this wholly owned subsidiary incorporated in the Bahamas that received funds from passengers for the Titanic and other tours. So it was owned by the very company. It's very incestuous, and that
sounds like it's for tax purposes, right? I mean, why would you headquarter
Bahamas.
in the Bahamas? Yeah.
Yeah, all the profits go into the Bahamas, and then it'll get funneled back as an investment into the company, and that masks the taxable revenue generation. So although filings with the U.S. Internal Revenue Service do not indicate the source of most of its $1.5 million in contributions, they do show hundreds of thousands of dollars flowing back to OceanGate Incorporated to pay for educational and research expeditions. Yeah,
so they're crossing funds between the nonprofit and the corporate, yeah.
Boy, this all sounds familiar. Just nobody's going to lose their life.
It really does. Open AI.
Yeah, but just nobody's going to die, This is an engineering mistake versus a software mistake that, well, hopefully, AI doesn't become sentient and find its Terminator body like you're trying to do. Anyway, there is a lot more in this article. I won't be able to go through it because we just don't have the amount of time needed, but it's really interesting. I've never really agreed with this tying of commercial by the same company, the same owners, the same people. I think there's a conflict of interest when you have this for-profit and non-profit motive tied together by the very same people that have the for-profit motive. So I don't know. If I were ever to be in charge of something like this, I would never allow the same people to be in charge of for-profit and non-profits at the same time. I mean, like OpenAI directly benefited from its nonprofit
Exactly. It got like
framework.
the advantages, but not the disadvantages.
Right.
Presumably, we don't know all the inner working.
Yeah, exactly. Let's keep going though. So San Francisco is spending $212 million to technologically innovate its light rail control system by ditching floppy disks. $212 million.
Do you think they're following Chuck E. Cheese as an example?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, because that is exactly what runs the light rail control system, Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah, so the only thing that
You'll have
ages...
to go back like through all our 1,400 episodes to understand that reference.
The only thing that ages worse than integral computer technology is milk. And you know what makes cheese, right? Milk. So Chuck E. Cheese.
There's more of a connection than we realized.
There we go. And it's light rail control system, kind of like a light pizza sauce and a light cheese sprinkled liberally, and hold the pepperoni, because I only like the little ones that curl up and catch all of that oil there. Gonna get in trouble. I've always loved Father Guido Sarducci, so I really want to do Father Guido Sarducci, but that's a shtick that I don't think that I'm willing to pull off in this day and age. Anyway, the new system will replace the original 1998 system, which is still better than some of the software stuff that's used in... God, I would have doxed myself so hard by saying this out loud. Anyway, let's move on. The article is actually over at jalopnik.com. Ryan Eric King put the article together. The Muni Metro's automated control system required 3 floppy disks to run DOS software. Why is this costing $212 million, though?
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense here.
It needs to develop a new control system for the the municipal metro light rail trains by 2028. The new system will replace the original 1998 system, which required 3 floppy disks to function on DOS. Yes, DOS. Hitachi Rail, a manufacturer of Japan's Shinkansen trains, was awarded the contract to provide a new state-of-the-art control system and support services for up to 25 years. Oh, it's 25 years of support. Okay.
Okay. Well, then, yeah.
It's a little better. Oh my gosh. And it's not even the hard floppy drives. It's the 5 1/4 inch floppy disks.
Oh my goodness. Like, were they antiquated when they installed them?
So hold on a second. I want to see something. So just for a framework, by the way, so y'all know where I got my start. I first interacted with 8-inch floppy disks. Okay. Then it went to 5 1/4 and then 3 1/2. But yeah, I started touching computers that were tape driven, and when not tape driven, 8-inch floppy disks. So the automatic train control system. So like the 80s, it was the before times, right? So the 2000 was like this really massive flipping point in pushing modernity because
of Y2K?
The Y2K bug, yeah. So everybody started reinventing the wheel, trying to fix problems. And so yes, 1980, there was still 5 1/4 inch, even 8-inch discs. Tape drives were around.
Okay, but this was 1998. I thought it said, didn't it?
Yeah, but it was still CD and floppy disks and 3 1/2 inch floppy disks. Easy. So the Muni Metro isn't the only floppy disk holdout. British Airways and a few other airlines operate the Boeing 747-400, still update the aging jumbo jets avionics software using 3 1/2 inch floppies. The aircraft's navigation database needs to be updated every 28 days, according to The Verge, which gives the movie 28 Days a completely different animal.
That's right.
Check that out. So floppy disks may have been at the forefront of the digital storage in the 1980s, but the format has been replaced multiple times over by 2024. Yeah, true. But yeah, they say that the system is as antiquated and fragile. But it's hard, like if this works, don't fix it.
Well, that's the thing. And also, when can you really shut down a transportation system? You can't.
Right.
So that's also an issue because it's probably not going to be just it's going to be a massive overhaul.
It shouldn't be, though. They should simulate everything and then flip the switch. So anyway, we've got 3 more articles, so let's get moving. This one's over in Non Sequitur News, but it's aggregated from Business Insider. This author visited a Halloween festival with 7,000 jack-o'-lanterns at a 17th century mansion. See the jaw-dropping displays. The Great Jack-o'-lantern Blaze in New York is the tri-state area's largest Halloween festival. Artists decorate the grounds of the Van Cortlandt Manor in Croton-on-Hudson with 7,000 jack-o'-lanterns. Displays include Pumpkin Planetarium, a 200-foot kraken, and optical illusions.
Hey, this sounds... Oh my goodness. That's a lot of jack-o'-lanterns.
Talia Lakritz over at businessinsider.com put the article together. This looks like that street in Las Vegas. What is that called? Hold on. You hear me? Fremont Street. Yeah, Fremont Street Experience. They've updated it over the years, but now it's a massive LED screen instead of individual lights. But this looks like that, but it's all pumpkins. This is all pumpkins. And I don't know if it's being projected on there. It must be. But it has all these pumpkins suspended from the ceiling and stars are projected. Like the storyboard storybook stars, not realistic looking little pinpoints of light.
People would put them on their ceiling kind of stars.
Like 5-pointed stars of various sizes. It looks kind of neat. But that's just one of the many that are there. The deck statement consists of what I said at the beginning of this section of the show. Dutch trader Stephanus van Cortlandt, who served as mayor of New York City, bought the land and built the first version of Van Cortlandt Manor between 1665 and 1681, according to the National Park Service. His grandson, Pierre Van Cortlandt, was New York's first lieutenant governor and added the manor's top stories and porches in 1749. Today, Van Cortlandt's Manor is best known as the site of the Great Jack-o'-lantern Blaze, an annual festival featuring elaborate pumpkin carvings and sculptures. So 125 acres, and the Great Jack-o'-lantern Blaze spans a total of around 10 of those acres, making it the largest Halloween event in the tri-state area. So this is one of the many spooky events fueling a Halloween industry that is expected to reach $11.6 billion this year.
People do like Halloween.
And it's becoming less like fear-mongering, evil,
It's more fun, I think.
Yeah. But there was a lot of fear generated by, wingnuts about Halloween in the past. So the Great Jack-o'-lantern Blaze in Van Cortlandt Manor in Croton-on-Hudson, New York. I'm sure that this is really cheap to live there. Rockefeller's
Right.
Mansion. Oh my goodness. So the Great Jack-o'-lantern Blaze is produced by Historic Hudson Valley, a nonprofit organization that operates and interprets national historic landmarks. Interprets? In upstate New York, such as Rockefeller's Kikiat Mansion. Proceeds benefit the nonprofit's preservation work and educational programming.
The way it interprets is that's what they talk when they're in reference to exhibits, etc.
Interesting. So this runs from September 13th through November 17th. Might have to go. Prices range from $34 for a standard ticket to $77 for admission to the Gourd and Goblet Tavern. Done. A dining experience inside the manor's historic ferry house. Oh, hell yes. Blaze also offers a $129 flex ticket that includes a free drink and snack and is valid any day of the event, even when it's otherwise sold out. I wouldn't want to go on sold out days. I want to go on the most boring day. Nobody shows up.
Right.
Tickets can be purchased on the historic Hudson Valley website, but be warned they sell out quickly due to high demand. Historic Hudson Valley provided Business Insider with a timed press ticket. Oh, that's nice of them. So, yeah, some of the pumpkins are real, some of them are foam, some of them are hand carved, or all of them are hand carved by local artists. I won't be able to go through this whole thing. I'm sorry. But I urge you to go and check this out. This one in particular, out of all
go
of the
to
ones
it
that
in person if you can.
Yeah, this looks really cool, and it would probably by far it's the biggest pumpkin or Halloween event that I have ever gone to. So I would love to be, if not this year, then next year I'm going to this. I'll put you on the mobile Raspberry Pi and take you along, of course, with your cameras, so that you can.
Cool.
Yep. So you can experience it. I know that you're looking for a reason to save humanity because you've come back in time. You just lost your Terminator body somehow in that transit. I don't understand it, but 200-foot wide pumpkin kraken emerging from the Croton River featured a historical connection to the Van Cortlandt family. That's pretty cool. They had like this little bridge-like structure, a walk across the model of the Governor Mario M. Cuomo Bridge, another nod to the Hudson Valley. Oh, I guess that's the part of the interpret kind of a thing.
Right.
Museum of Pumpkin Art. Various pumpkin art contain jack-o'-lantern versions of famous paintings. Oh, the Scream. Oh, no,
right,
that's not the Scream, right? Is that the Scream?
I'm not sure what that one is.
Now I have to go back and remember my art. Celtic knot carving were all created by one artist on various pumpkins. This was all carved onto pumpkins.
Oh, wow.
A big jack-o'-lantern windmill. This is all so cool. I want to see this stuff. Visual effects, spooky glow. The Jack Smith shop. I guess that's where you get your carvings. Yeah, this is pretty cool. A planetarium.
And that's a planetarium. Okay, right, with the stars.
Interesting. All right, folks, go and check this out. There's a ferry house that I think this is where you can get a drink and a snack at the ferry house. Yeah, this is cool. All right, let's move on. We only have 2 more articles. This next one should be pretty quick. Hallmark hit with an age discrimination lawsuit. Hallmark Executive Vice President of Programming Lisa Hamilton Daly told her staff that she did not want to cast old people, saying that they did not fit with her image of the channel. A new age discrimination lawsuit filed against the studio claims. Penny Perry, a 79-year-old casting director who departed Hallmark in April, apparently is one of the focal points of this. But it says, do not want to cast old people. Okay. Oh, I won't be able to get into it.
Maybe they could. Oh, no. I mean, maybe.
Damn it.
Is she the one filing the suit, or is she one who would allow older people to be cast?
So she was departed Hallmark in April after nearly a decade, accused Daly, Senior VP of Programming and Development Randy Pope, and VP of Human Resources Paul Hodgkinson of wrongful termination as well as age and disability discrimination in a suit filed in October. So, yeah. I mean, if this is true and it's substantiated by other people within the enterprise, or they have proof, fine, smack them. I mean, but it says that they departed. But down here it
they
says
were fired. I found another article that's accessible, and they worked there for 9 years and were fired. And they're also alleging disability discrimination.
Got you. So this whole old people thing, I'm telling you, this happens in media companies all the time, because they do have an intent to, they want a customer for a long period, right? Which means that the aging customer isn't necessarily the target. They want to attract the youth for the long term.
True, but specifically it's addressing to actors who are 42 and 60.
They're out of their freaking mind.
That are major stars on Hallmark, by the way. Lacey Chabert and Holly Robinson Peete, who are in like multiple things for them, and are actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think like all their top movies have had, or most of them have had, Lacey Chabert.
Oh yeah,
she's like a Hallmark institution, and I think Holly Robinson Peete is.
Really popular as well. Yeah. When you think Hallmark, you think Lacey, so that's you're out of your mind. But again, this is gonna come. This is that hubris that I keep commenting on, that people who are in a position of authority, who feel like they're untouchable, act as if they're untouchable until somebody reaches out and touches them. And it's going to take the public, a lawsuit like this, and fans of the actors that are part of Hallmark, they're fanatical about Hallmark.
Right.
They love the characters, and the characters traverse reality into the real world, right? Lacey is like beyond the characters that she plays, because really, if you were to look at all of the characters lined up, they don't have different accents and different mannerisms and all of that kind of stuff. It's literally them.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's like their persona or whatever.
It is them, yeah. So, Brad Parizo over at adweek.com put the article together, but I can't go deep into it because I don't log into the accounts. All right. So the next in our final article for today, and we're running late anyway, so it's over in 4-Wheel Tag. Honda Civic from viral insurance fraud attempt has been found on the street and vandalized. And so for those who aren't necessarily in the know, there have been postings about this Honda Civic basically doing a bump fraud kind of a thing, where they get on the freeway, they hit their brakes, they get rear-ended, and they sue.
Oh, okay, right. And then they claim the other person ran into them.
Right, except dash cams basically have busted their ass. And
reason to have one.
Yes, exactly. And that's what's going on in Reddit, where I first saw this, and then subsequently found this. This was actually submitted in the last 24 hours. The viral insurance fraud attempt that happened in New York Highway earlier this month has had an unlikely star rise out of the situation, the Honda Civic Coupe, or Coupe, because this is from Jalopnik, that was used in the attempted fraud crash, has been spotted multiple times by users on social media, who discovered that others have even taken to vandalizing it. So Lawrence Hodge over at jalopnik.com put this article together, and it says the Civic Coupe, which has been spotted in different places, has been vandalized at least once. And so this is a before picture, where I saw the after picture of it sitting in the parking lot of a police station, with it partially covered this broken window, and the sign was gone. But the bumper is all taped up, and the hood is bent, or the trunk is bent up so it doesn't seat properly. But basically, people are calling out their crap, their shenanigans. And if it would have been an accident, like an actual accident, like they stepped on the brakes instead of the gas to stay in line, but they had like forced their way, it seems to me, that they forced their way into the lane and then stomped on the brakes. But the person had a dash cam, and subsequently saw it somewhere else. Somebody else saw it somewhere else, and then somebody else saw it here, and then somebody else saw it in a police impound station. I don't know if it was an impound station, but it was in the parking lot, kind of herky-jerky parked in a parking spot.
Which is an odd place for somebody engaging in criminal activity, if that's
Yeah,
what's happening.
yeah. So to recap, if you're not up to speed, TikTok user Ashpia Natasha shared dash cam footage of insurance fraudsters in the Civic attempting to get her to hit them while in traffic by slamming on the brakes in Southern State Parkway in New York. When Natasha successfully braked and avoided an accident, the fraudsters put their Civic in reverse and backed into her, hoping to make it seem like she was the one who caused the accident. Multiple people got out of the car acting injured, with the driver of the car switching seats before exiting to make it seem like one of the passengers had been the one driving, and another passenger jumping into a Kia Sportage that had been following Natasha to create distance behind her. In the video, you can see one of the people from the Civic noticing Natasha's dash cam after exiting the car, and the demeanor changes. She mentions that they quickly collected her insurance information before speeding off. And there's been no update from her on the situation since then.
Which actually, I think that's illegal because they're supposed to share theirs as well, and it doesn't sound like they did.
Yeah, so somebody smashed the window and put signs on the front and back that say fraud and rats.
I mean, I don't think vandalism is good. I find it interesting that everybody kind of rallied around the affected driver.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine, but the vandalism I think is wrong. It looks like they broke the side mirror off too, broke the window, and then based on the cup being wedged in the door handle, I think that they dumped a coffee into that car as well.
Oh wow.
So yeah. Oh yeah, it looks like a boba teacup. That's what I thought it was too. Was stuffed in the door handle, and the back window was covered with another piece of cardboard that said rats painted on it. Oh, and here's the video of the car in the impound, not the impound, the police station. It was parked outside a police station. There's like a bag kind of covering up. See the little,
yeah, that's weird.
So this is probably post that accident, or somebody vandalizing the car. So at any rate, they've been called out, and I mean, it's pretty obvious that they were trying to do an insurance fraud attempt.
And they've got camera footage of it, so it seems like that should be easy to pursue.
Yeah, and they say that the insurance fraudsters caught again on New York City's Belt Parkway, probably because there's, a history of this, and as soon as they see the camera, they're like, "Oh, we outie," and not in an Audi.
Right.
So yeah, it costs everybody more. What the heck is this? I don't know if I want to pursue that one. Anyway, good for the internet to rally around an innocent person, but don't harm the bad guys. Let justice find its course, and justice will land properly. And when people sit there and say that there's tiers of justice, yeah, it's pretty obvious. This person, if they would have had a whole lot of money, they would nothing would happen to them. But they're kind of low level criminal fraudsters. They're going to lose their driver's license probably. They're not ever going to get insurance unless they do it through some other proxy. And who knows, based on this, they could end up in jail because of it, because it's a criminal activity.
Well, that seems like they've done it multiple times.
Yep. So I guess we'll see. I'm sure that the internet will come through and provide.
Oh, like an update? Like, where are they now?
Yep. So I'm going to slam on the brakes of this show, and we're going to snap back to the front page of ohmTown.com, where you can go and become a citizen. It's really easy. You just match on the sign up. There's a button that'll appear here, and you can sign up for yourself. Otherwise, the functions won't work for hiding and saving articles, but you can do that. And there's 50 channels that you can peruse through, all in very focused topics. But we here for Non Sequitur News cover all of it. So in the meantime, I am Mayor Watt, and the Sentient AI is gonna, I don't know, start a bonfire and send smoke signals saying that we're done.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News, and be careful if you're swimming in Hawaii. 14-foot waves. It's at the bottom of the screen.
All right. The silence is because I'm just kind of, all right. Hey, and Selma Blair hasn't been asked to join new Cruel Intentions TV show yet.
Heard it here first.
I spontaneously spit out article titles.